Hey everybody, we're back on the swather today, trying to finish things up. I'm gonna put this cabin air filter back in underneath there. I just got done putting a seal on this since the old one stuck mostly to the old air filter. I got silicone and flex seal up around the base of the swamp cooler. Hopefully keep the water from coming into the cab up through that part. Kind of falls out on your legs while you're driving it, but I'm gonna get this put back in. Then we need to get some hoses hooked up to this swamp cooler and we'll give it a try. So I'm up and running, but let's do a little bit of talking about how I got to this point. Go ahead and kind of set this guy down so it doesn't fall on me. But there's kind of three different things I had to get going here. First thing is there's that float up under there that lets water into there. That float hooks to this hose, runs down all the way to the water tank and the pump. Once I got that working, it shuts off like it's supposed to. You could hear a little bit of pressure get let off when I push the float down. That all works. Then I needed to see if this motor here works and the fan. I knew the fan worked from beforehand, but so let's take this guy, set it back in there. It falls down into a couple grooves, and then this thing's got a hook on it. That ends up catching and making this rotate. I'll go ahead and use my power probe here so I don't have to bounce back and forth between the cab, and I'll show you what's going on. When I send power to this motor, it starts rotating that wheel real slow. What that's doing is just dipping it in water basically, but it's forcing the fan to pull air through that wet kind of blanket, and that's what's cooling the water down. So that's all working good. And then if that all works good, I guess I'll see if I can poke the wire here. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to one-handed. I guess you guys kind of understand how a fan works. I'll get back inside and I'll show you too, but the switch that was down in here had been getting soaked in water because of leaks all the way around the outside of this, and that caused that switch to be no good. But what I did was I put a switch in that bypassed the speeds basically. We got an on-off for the blower fan and an on-off for this. So, and I guess there's an on-off for that pump down there too, but that wasn't anything I had to mess with. But anyways, I'll get back in there and I'll show you how it works. Here's my old switch. This, let's see, it was in there like this. This was an off button, this was a fan button, and then this one was for the humidity basically, or how much it turned that thing. But you can see it's all really rusty. I've sprayed WD-40 in there and got them all moving, but it wasn't making connection. I've got a good part number here, but you can't buy that switch anymore anywhere that I've seen. So what I ended up doing is just putting two on-off switches in its place. And I did the first one so it turns that wheel on up in there. You can hear it and you can see the fan's not rolling. So that way you turn the water on first, blower motor on second, and it's blowing nice and cold air. Everything's working. There was already this switch in here, and it's on off, but it's keyed on off, and I'll let you listen here. as I turn the key on. So that pump is just like one that's in a camper. Once it gets up to pressure, whatever pressure that is, I don't know, it shuts off. So it's not working all the time. So that's nice. We're getting water up there. Like I said, turn the wheel on, turn the fan on, nice and cold. So I think you'll be happy with that. This is what I'm working on next. My oil leak right here. I took that cover off. And then I tried to loosen the chain right here. This is a tensioner. It's got a flat spot on either side. Put a crescent wrench on. On the back side of that is an 1 5/16" nut. Great big one. Put a couple wrenches on that, loosened it. Then you can twist this back and forth. I took all the bolts out around here, draining the oil into a pan. But I can't get this thing to come out of there. It's just kind of swinging on the chain in there. There's 2 chains. So I played with this back and forth till I got enough slack on this chain here. It's just down around the big sprocket, but it used to loop up like this. But with playing with this tensioner, I got enough slack there. So then I could take that chain off, rotate this until I could see the master link right there. Now I'm going to pop those cotter pins out of that, get that master link out, let that chain fall down in there, and then I can pop this out, let it drain overnight, clean this surface up tomorrow, and put the new gasket on. That did the trick for me. Put a bar, just kind of a heel bar here, underneath the chain and popped it up where it was right across the middle of this hole. Pulled the master link out of it. That let everything flop out of the way. Dropped this guy out. I took the Mighty Vac, sucked all the oil out of the bottom of here that I could get. Hung this chain up for the night. I'll let it drip into that pan. Tomorrow I will clean up these surfaces and then glue that gasket onto here, start putting them back together. I haven't decided yet how I'm going to put the chain back on here. I might, I don't know, lower it into there and pull it around with a piece of wire. I might put it back together on here and then try to fish this into it. I'm not exactly sure. This is hard to hold on to and heavy on this end, and I don't really know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna think about it overnight and see if I can come up with something. But this should be good to get all this cleaned up, get that new gasket on there, get this leak fixed. It wasn't low on oil yet, but it was gonna be, you know, so I think it's the 3rd hole up on the front. So I don't know if you count this 1, 2, 3, or if it's 1, 2, 3, you're supposed to have oil level in here. I can't remember which kind of oil. This is a lot like gear oil that's coming out of here, so I'm betting it's 80, 90 weight. But get this guy done, and then I need to move on to this cable here. We're getting awful close on this thing. Both surfaces all cleaned up with the die grinder and the wire wheel. I'm gonna take this guy over the parts washer, wash it all off, and then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to install it back in there and then worry about trying to get the chain to wrap around it. I'm kind of thinking maybe tying a piece of mechanics wire onto the chain, then feeding it back up through and dragging it through that way, something like that. I think that will be easier than trying to fish the chain onto here while it's up in there. Maybe Maybe hang the chain by mechanics wire from either end and kind of let it pull up in the bottom. I'm not real sure, but we'll figure it out. I noticed one of the bolts that held that on there was awful short laying in the pan. If you look at it, it's because it's broke. And if you look down here, it's broke off in the lowest hole there can be. So that's probably why this thing started leaking. If it wasn't dripping out between the gaskets, it might have been dripping out right there. So we'll get that bolt out of there, put a different one in. But that's probably the cause of this problem. If a guy would have known that, you might have been able to get that bolt out of there and put a new one in and tighten it up, but might have been too far gone by that point too. Left-handed drill bit for the win. See if I can make it so you can see it. Backed it right out, didn't even get drilled all the way through. Just a little ways in and caught, so that thing is out of there. I think I'm ready to glue the new gasket on, get my chain strung out in there like I want it, to get it put back together. Okay guys, I got it figured out. Bungee cord holding the top of the chain up over there. There's a piece of mechanics wire right there. You can just barely see it. It's tied into this end of the chain, kind of letting it all fall back in there like that. That chain there might get in my way. I'm not sure. Might have to pull it up out of there, but that's no big deal. But I'm gonna glue that gasket on to this surface so I don't have to deal with it when I'm setting that up there. And I might put silicone on the outside of it too, just because I don't want to deal with a leak later. That screws you from being able to reuse the gasket if you ever need to, but I think it's going to be worth it in this case. So I'll get that done, get it slapped up there, and I'll let you know how this chain deal turns out here. Got it all bolted up, put the new bolt and washer up the top. All the other ones are flange head bolts tightened down. Got a little bit of silicone squeezed out all the way around. That should be set up really nice tomorrow when we actually dump the oil in. But before I finish tonight, I would like to string that chain up through here where it's supposed to go. Try to get that master link put back in it. That'd be a nice finish for me. I'm still gonna have to clean the silicone off of here and get ready to glue that back on. Looks like I'm getting close to needing a little more silicone too. I don't know if you guys have ever tried this right stuff, 1 minute gasket in a tube, but this is the best silicone out there. I've used it on everything. The only thing I don't like about this silicone is if I'm the guy that has to take it apart the next time, because it will be stuck on there so hard you'll have to drive wedges in there to take it off. But I always try to get everything as clean as possible, but I've had really, really good luck with this stuff, even when I can't get it very clean. But no sponsor there, I just like their product. But anyways, let's get after it, see if I can get that chain strung through there. So, I did get the chain put on there and the master link in with Jesse's help, but I got it in the wrong way, and that's not the only problem. The last problem is with messing with that, I found out that there is a crack in the weld all the way around this one gear. I'll see if I can make it move here. Trying to do this one-handed. Get Jesse to run the light for me again. But if you look down in there, that's cracked right around there. So that's something I'm gonna have to take care of, but we're gonna worry about that tomorrow night. So you guys are wondering what the hell happened. Where is all the footage in between me working on it and the swather driving out of the shop? Well, what happened was my dad got in a great big hurry to have it done, so he could get down there and start cutting hay. This year we've had a really cold spring and none of the grass has grown very tall, and it's already heading out, so it's time to get it cut. So what happened was he showed up, my brother-in-law showed up, my father-in-law and my wife, and we hammered it out basically in a day. I got the cables changed on the conditioner tension. That wasn't too bad. My brother-in-law pulled the C cover over the top and then basically loosened spring tension, put the new cables on. I did get the Woodruff keys in for the power shaft going to the header, and they were the wrong size, so I ended up welding on that old Woodruff key, building it up, filing it down to size, put it in the new pulley that I changed out. Works great. I think you got to see the swamp cooler work. Oh, the big sprocket inside of the left front drive, I welded it in place. I didn't have to tear it back apart to put 2 passes around it with the MIG welder. That went really good. Topped it off with 140 weight gear oil. That's what the manual called for. I think that was about it. I'm sorry that you guys missed out on the tail half of the project, but I guess that's how it goes. I'll try to do better on the next one, and I hope you guys stick with me. They're not all going to be like this. It's just maybe some of you are sick of seeing the swather videos anyways. So thanks for watching. Hopefully I'll see you on the next one.